I've been hearing about some pretty good whitetails coming out of the northeast Wyoming part of the Black Hills.
Oh, yeah, he's chasing again.
We seen some bucks kind of moving around. We knew they were there. We just had to keep working at it.
And we saw a pretty good buck.
You see him chasing those does? Kind of a spindly 4x4 out to his ears.
I seen a mature buck down there. Ron seen him. We felt it was the deer we wanted.
But be ready, he said, because they are kind of used to people popping over this dike because he hunts there a lot. You pop over that dike and you're skyline. I mean, they're seeing you against a clear sky and you're pretty close to them a lot of times.
You're gonna have to hurry. There he is, turning. He's going into the brush. Take him.
I didn't spend a lot of time counting antlers and points. When he turned broadside and stepped back one more time, I thought, boy, I'd better get this done in a hurry.
That's our buck right there. Take him.
Winchester's World of Whitetail.
Wyoming has been a hidden gem of whitetail hunting, but growing in recognition. Now, Ron Spomer has come to see what all the fuss is about on this Winchester World of Whitetail.
When I found out I was going to be hunting the Little Missouri River in northeast Wyoming with FAB outfitters, I didn't have any idea it was going to look like this. I mean, this is dry and desiccated looking desert country. Doesn't look like it's the best place for whitetails. Now, we've got some significant challenges. One, it's going to be windy. It's Wyoming. Two, it's going to be unusually hot. They are predicting up into the 70s on November 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, that is warm temperature. And then we've had an EHD outbreak tied in with this drought. The drought always hurts whitetails and especially antler development. But when you get epizootic hemorrhagic disease killing off the old bucks, there go your chances. But these animals are tough. That's why we love them so much. Whitetails are adaptable, and I'm sure there are still some hanging in here. We have a ranch manager and outfitter guide who has been here for 20 years, and he's supposed to really know the country and where these whitetail hang out. If he can't find them for us, probably no one can. Let's see just how much of a challenge we're facing and how well we do on Winchester World of Whitetail.
Set against the western front of the Black Hills, FAB Ranch Outfitters runs from the plains up to pine-studded bluffs. Ample territory for Spomer to find his buck.
The Black Hills of South Dakota and Wyoming hold a special place in this hunter's heart because this was the first place I ever hunted whitetail deer. And it was all sort of a special dreamland that existed only in magazines at the time. And here I was actually in the big mountains with pine trees, not cornfields. So anytime I can get back to this country, up into these beautiful Ponderosa Pine Hills, I enjoy it.
The FA Bush Ranch actually stands for Fountain Alice Bush. Fount Bush put the place together. It's been in the family over 100 years. The ranch consists of about 30,000 acres.
We weren't necessarily going to be hunting up in my Black Hill Ponderosa Pines. His whitetails are living down along what is euphemistically called the Little Missouri River. Emphasis on little.
Well, we have the Little Missouri River that runs down by the house, and we're sitting up here on the North Fork River right now. They're not real big rivers. Most people would call them creeks, but they are the rivers that run through this ranch.
Hal was a great guide. You know, at first I thought, I'm working with a rancher here who sort of deer hunts on the side, but no. Hal is a serious deer hunter and an observer of deer.
We run a spot and stalk, we get up, we glass, and then we put our game plan together on how we're going to get to that animal. And my guides and myself have hunted this country long enough, we can formulate a game plan to get down on that animal for you.
But more importantly is that he has a history on this ranch and he knows these deer. He knows where they like to spend their time, where they go when it's dry versus when it's wet, where they go during the hunting season versus non. I mean, he just knows his animals, and that's so important. Anytime you're on a guided hunt in strange country, you'll do much better if you've got a local connection who knows what's going on. And Hal certainly does all of that.
Before Ron can explore this strange country with guide Hal Bowles, he has a new rifle he needs to take to the range to make sure it is hitting home.
kind of gun you shooting there today?
It's a Mossberg 4x4. It's sort of their flagship bolt action. They've got a less expensive one called the ATR, but boy, they all shoot remarkably well. Okay, put away all the women and children and the dogs. We don't want to hurt anybody here. Here goes. That got kind of dusty. Let's go see if that holds where I think it is. My luck, I missed the old target. I have to do this all over again. Hell, if I'm not mistaken, that bullet's right where it's supposed to be.
I'd say you're on.
Most people say that. Probably a dead deer there.
Yeah.
With the rifle shooting dead on, it's time to head into the field, where Ron soon sees that the problem, a good one, will be separating the whitetail from the mule deer.
There's 3 deer out there. I can't tell if they're...
Muleys. 6 of them. Let's just see if we can put any antlers on them, huh? Yeah. Muley buck there. No, I got all muleys.
Okay, Ron, I just can tell from here.
Boy, you got a lot of deer down in this valley. They're just the wrong species. You know, suppose we could change his tail a little bit after we shot him and make him a whitetail.
Just takes white paint, shoe color.
I think you might have to add a few more hairs to it.
We seen some bucks kind of moving around. We knew they were there. We just had to keep working at it.
And we saw a pretty good buck. Oh, yeah, he's chasing again.
So far on this northeast Wyoming hunt, Ron and guide Hal Bowles have seen herds of mule deer. But this is, let's remember, Winchester, world of whitetail.
Hal said, well, I've got a special spot I want to get to before too much longer. They feed in this area. It's one of those bottom irrigated fields that was dry, but still he'd been noticing a few whitetails feeding in there.
Where do you want to go? Let's work our way down here and go into those trees over there.
I think that sounds good.
I kind of wanted to check this little honey hole out up here. We see a lot of whitetails, so we roared right up here.
There's a close one right here, doe. There's a doe at about 80 yards right over here. There might be a buck here. Yeah, I think it's just a doe with branches around her. Make him look like big antlers.
We got up here a little late, but you know, we seen some bucks kind of moving around. We knew they were there. We just had to keep working at it.
There's a doe walking out right there, too. Just a little one. She's getting her tail up. She's getting suspicious.
We could go back around and come in maybe on the other side of this dike.
Crawling up just on the base.
Come up and get down in over here.
So you wanted to hustle over there. It was a little bit farther out to the edge of the ranch. So by the time we got there, it was not optimal for finding deer, yet they were still out there, and we saw a pretty good buck. You see him chasing those does?
No, I can't even see the does anymore.
Yeah, he's in there chasing does. Kind of a spindly 4x4 out to his ears. I think he came running out of the trees from my left. He actually came in within about 300 yards. The does were at 370, and then he popped up and he was at 300. Is that him? Yeah, that's him. Oh, yeah, he's chasing again. Yeah, coming up 4x, he's coming. He's kind of working his way this way, it looked like. I think that one doe is looking back at him that we keep seeing. He might pop into the open here.
The secret to successful hunting is know your animal. So, Spomer devotes himself to studying the deer and their behavior to know what to expect in the field. When you've been around and at it as long as I have, you start to think you know it all, but by golly, I don't. So I'm always studying and trying to figure out why are the animals doing what they're doing. So when you see does start to run around the field and young bucks start to chase them, you know that they're getting pretty close to estrus. So what does that tell you about the big bucks? Well, if the little guys are out chasing does in the open fields and you're not seeing the big older guys, probably already have a doe down in the timber or out up on the prairie somewhere, isolated, that they're tending. So you need to look a little harder for the big bucks. Don't expect them to be out racing around the field. They might hit it once or twice. Chances are, though, if the little guys are out chasing does, big guy's already busy back in the bushes.
You know, the only thing better than getting to hunt whitetails all fall? Getting to hunt them in a brand new Ram Outdoorsman truck.
As a hunter, one of my favorite extra features on this Ram is the Ram box for carrying my firearms. At first I thought, yeah, an external carry, I'm not sure I like that. This thing is waterproof and it's dustproof, and that's a big deal, especially in dusty conditions like this. There's a lot of dust and dirt on this thing because I've been driving in it for days. But inside, everything remains just dust-free. I haven't cleaned this thing for weeks or months probably, and there's a lot of dust along the edges here, but this good rubber seal seems to keep it all out. Ram box protects the Mossberg rifle, and that's the way I like it.
A patient day of hunting has brought Ron and Hal within sight of a buck, but it may not be one as big as they're hoping for.
Yeah, that's him. He's pretty tall, but he's not a real long main. Not a real long main beam. For the longest time I couldn't find him, all of a sudden he's right in my viewfinder, like he popped out of a hole in the ground.
What do you think we need to move down that way?
I don't know, as many does as are watching, I don't think we can get any closer. Every time you turn around, there's another doe pops up looking at you.
Gosh, the golden light was shining on him, and he was working some does. Pretty good looking little buck, but first morning, even though I only had 3 days to hunt, I wasn't quite ready to pull the trigger on a deer that quickly. I wanted to see what else was in the area and look the place over.
I think these deer are bedding down. Why don't we pull out of here?
Okay.
We need to get up here in the morning. Tomorrow morning, we definitely want to be sitting up here at daylight.
Okay.
And Hal had mentioned having seen a couple of good 5-pointers on the place, and we wanted to look for those. So I sort of reluctantly passed on that buck.
Do they bed right down here?
In these little trees.
Yeah, I don't want to go in there and spook them out of there.
They'll be here tonight and in the morning. I mean, this is a good spot for these whitetails. So we got out of there, left the deer alone that first morning and backed out and decided to take another run at it later.
I guess I could tear myself away. This was pretty impressive. There's a lot of deer down here.
Yeah, they're not going to go anywhere. They'll be there later.
I wasn't expecting this, man. I thought we were going to be up in the pine trees, catching them coming up to the pines out of the feed fields.
Yeah, that was a nice start to the day, knowing that we were hunting in a drought with EHD having swept through this area. It was just refreshing to find a buck of that quality.
Boy, that's a pretty hot first morning. What a sweet spot with this dike. You get to move up and down and they can't see you.
You can just keep peeking.
Ah, that's nifty. I've never had one of those before.
We drove up to the spot where we'd seen the activity the morning before.
I've got a 3-day hunt here. I better not be passing up too many more shootable bucks.
That's our buck right there. Take him.
Drought is hard on the deer, but produces ideal breeding conditions for the biting midges that transmit the almost always fatal epizootic hemorrhagic disease to them.
EHD is a depressing problem for whitetail hunters, and it's really a significant problem out in the west.
Oh, these are EHD dead deer.
You know, you can see the velvet on this deer.
That's when it nails them too, just when they're coming out of velvet, doesn't it?
That one had come out.
Yeah.
I was hoping that we would be turning these kind of deer away and letting them go another year. But
wow,
that EHD has just taken its toll on these older bucks.
And just when you're really starting to build up a good strong population of fully mature bucks, 5 to 8-year-old animals, that's when it hits, and those are the ones that it seems to kill most easily.
Isn't it just actually a gnat that goes up into their nose?
As I understand it, a little gnat bites them, and that's the vector for carrying the parasite or the virus or whatever it is that gets them, and then they bleed to death internally. It might take a week for them to inoculate, but once it hits, the fever kicks up, and they're dead within 24 to 48 hours.
I'd say we took a 50% loss from this EHD, at least on our...
Wow, on the bucks.
Yeah.
So you always pray for an early frost in this country. Preferably, you just don't want the drought. If you can keep your water levels up, a little bit of moisture on the ground, you usually don't have the EHD problem. So it makes it a little tougher to get that really, really old buck.
Right, and these deer were a year or two away from being that really old buck that you look for.
Yeah. Oh. Well, we'll see what we can find for the leftovers.
Okay.
Day 2, and Ron and Hal have returned to where they saw the buck yesterday, with more hours to spend in the search for a trophy white-tailed deer.
Hal, you remember a while ago when you were complaining about 67 degrees?
Yeah.
Look over there now.
71.
You know, it wouldn't be so bad if it weren't so dry and dusty out here.
Oh, man.
You know, the whole thing is just makes you feel like you're in a desert.
It's been that way all summer.
Yeah, this is going to be a real challenge. We're going deer hunting. We're going to stalk up the river. Doesn't look like much of a river, but out here in this dry country, it's a water course, and it sometimes has water in it, but it always has deer in it. Second morning, I've got a 3-day hunt here. EHD, drought conditions, all the rest of it just pretty much told me I better not be passing up too many more shootable bucks.
We're in here about 2 hours earlier than we were yesterday morning.
The wind's bad though right now.
Wind's bad, but we'll just work them from the far down this dike. It was a really kind of warm morning. I was a little nervous what we'd see, but we drove up to the spot where we'd seen the activity the morning before. We can look down quite a ways. We got the scope and everything.
All right, let's go.
Get to this low spot here.
Yeah, getting that dip. Good job. There are 2 bucks off on the left. I don't know if you can see them from where you are. They just see their backs over the dike. I can't see their antlers, but I can see that they're fighting.
They are just sparring out there, aren't they?
And there's 3 does just feeding around them, so that rut's coming on.
Now that I've looked around and seen how little activity there is with the heat and the drought and all the rest of it, maybe I should have shot that buck. Maybe I can find him again. And Hal thought, well, that's a pretty good area. It's where my best whitetails are right now as far as consistency. Let's give it another try.
We can walk right up that riverbed if we can get there. We're gonna stick ourselves out in the open, but it's worth a try.
Dip down here, go through that, and crawl over that tree.
Go over that tree and just kind of hip-hop our way over there, Ron. I seen a mature buck down there. Ron seen him. We felt it was the deer we wanted.
Yep, they're right there in that field, over that dike where I thought they'd be.
That's that same bunch.
That's that same bunch. Let's work down and get her on that dike.
There he is, coming right in front of the brush there.
Hal said that's him taking. When he turned broadside and stepped back one more time, I thought, boy, I'd better get this done in a hurry.
Host Ron Spomer and Wyoming guide Hal Bowles will need to move fast and shoot quick if they're going to take a buck on this Winchester World of Whitetail.
Yep, they're right there in that field, over that dike where I thought they'd be. Let's work down and get her on that dike. We'll go up right here. Let me peek over there first. We might have to move. Let me look. Okay.
We got up here and we took a peek over the dike and we seen some deer, but they were moving and I knew it was gonna have to happen fast.
But be ready, he said, because they are kind of used to people popping over this dike because he hunts there a lot.
Wait. We gotta go down here. It's gonna happen fast.
When we first spotted the deer down there, they kind of busted us and we knew we had to move down anyway, so we ran down as quick as we could.
You're gonna have to hurry. There he is, too, and he's going into the brush. Take him.
These dikes aren't just for irrigation. They give us an advantage to keep moving down them and trying to get in a better shooting position. They give us a blind to get behind and keep moving down.
You pop over that dike and you're skyline. I mean, they're seeing you against a clear sky and you're pretty close to them a lot of times. And to Hal's credit, he had told me, be ready, this could happen in a hurry.
There he is, coming right in front of the brush there.
When he turned broadside and stepped back one more time, I thought, boy, I'd better get this done in a hurry.
And it all happened quick. We had to move down the dike hole about 150, 200 yards. We got up over the dike, we seen the buck, we made a quick decision and we shot the deer.
I didn't spend a lot of time counting antlers and points. Hal said that's him, take him, and I took him.
That's our buck right there, take him. You got him.
Boy, did I get a mouthful of dirt. I thought I got shot. Felt like a good hit. Did you see it?
Yeah, it was a good hit.
Did you hear it?
Yep, I could hear it, yep.
All right, I guess now we have to go find him and get to work.
Good job.
All right, that was fun. Boy, you called it right. Get here before sunrise and I'll be in here. They were here.
Well, I knew it was going to be a hurry-up deal.
Oh, big body on him.
Big body deer.
But small antlers. That's smaller than I thought they were.
I was afraid of that this year.
Well, it was a big body deer, and I was surprised that the antlers weren't larger than they were. And often you'll get a fairly lightly antlered deer, and it's just a 2-year-old. But this animal had the body and the bulky neck of an older deer.
I wish this deer was just a little heavier up here, but I think that's just caused from the drought.
Yeah, no doubt. You can see the body on him. He's a big deer. It was at least 3. I thought 4 when I pulled the trigger on him, which is usually a fully mature deer. So it was one or the other. I think it probably did go more than 4. It had a gray muzzle and just an old look about its face. But those antlers had obviously suffered.
It was a fun hunt.
Yeah, golly, I wish we'd have had a better year for it.
I do too. But these whitetail are pretty prolific. They'll come back hard and they'll come back strong. Give them a year or two and we'll be good again.
I wish I could have hunted here in a better year because I see a lot of potential on this place. And I expect that some of those bucks are living right around here because he's got the alfalfa and he's got the bottoms on that river. And that's really all the recipe you need for whitetails. Well, let's drag him out onto the flat here and take care of him, huh?
Sounds good. I really enjoyed hunting with Ron. He's a very knowledgeable man. He's a well-read man. He's a great hunter.
Got him? Yep. Good Lord, he's heavy. I don't think in a drought situation like this, I would have been able in a 3-day hunt to find any bucks, let alone one that we could take. I would love to come back down the road a little bit. In 3 or 4 years, he's gonna have some pretty nice bucks. Of course, the drought didn't help him at all this year. Get a little bit of rain, some moisture in the spring, they'll bounce right back. Almost there. God, we're good. They should hire us for grunt work.